I watched from my penthouse window in Seattle as my phone exploded with messages from my mother. 23 missed calls, 47 texts, each one more desperate than the last. Emma, please, your sister needs help. The wedding is ruined. You have to come back. How could you be so selfish? Family comes first. I took a sip of my coffee, the Seattle skyline glittering before me like a promise kept. The irony wasn't lost on me. In my first life, I died in that childhood bedroom they'd so casually given away. Died alone, clutching my phone, waiting for someone to answer my calls while they celebrated Madison's engagement party downstairs. But that was 28 years ago. Or rather, it would be 28 years from now. Time is funny when you've lived it twice. My phone buzzed again. This time, a voice message from Madison herself, her voice shrill with panic. Emma, the venue flooded. Mom said you had connections in New York. You have to help me. I know we haven't talked in a while, but you're my sister. Haven't talked in a while. That was rich. We hadn't talked in 6 years, not since the day I'd packed a single suitcase and left for college, never to return to that house in Connecticut. In my first life, I'd never made it to college. I'd never made it past 19. Let me take you back to where this really started. Not to yesterday or last week or even 6 years ago when I left. Let me take you back to when I was 8 years old and my father brought home a woman named Patricia and her daughter Madison. My mother had been dead for 2 years. Breast cancer, stage 4, gone within 6 months of diagnosis. I remembered her funeral, the way my father hadn't cried, hadn't even seemed particularly sad. He'd been distracted, checking his phone, talking to a woman I didn't recognize in hushed tones by the refreshments table. That woman was Patricia. She moved in 3 months later. Madison was 10, blonde where I was dark-haired, outgoing where I was shy, confident where I was still grieving, and my father loved her immediately. Emma, why can't you be more like Madison? Became his favorite refrain. Madison got an A on her test. Madison made the soccer team. Madison helped Patricia with dinner. What did you do today, Emma? What did I do? I mourned my mother. I tried to understand why my father's eyes slid past me like I was furniture. I wondered why Patricia looked at me like I was a stain she couldn't quite scrub out. When I was 12, they redecorated my bedroom. Without asking me. Without even telling me. I came home from school to find my mother's things gone. The photos I'd kept on my dresser, the quilt she'd made me, the jewelry box she'd given me for my 10th birthday. All of it vanished. We thought you'd appreciate something more mature, Patricia said, gesturing to the beige walls and generic furniture. Everything that had made it mine, everything that had connected me to my mother, replaced with a room that could have been in a hotel. Where are my things? I whispered. In the attic. You're too old to be dwelling on the past, Emma. It's time to move forward. I found out later that half of it had been thrown away. The quilt, the photos. Gone forever. Madison got the bigger bedroom that year, the one with the bay window and the walk-in closet. She needs space for all her trophies, my father explained, not meeting my eyes. But the bedroom wasn't the worst of it, not even close. In my first life, I'd been accepted to Columbia University with a full academic scholarship. I'd worked myself half to death for it. Perfect grades, perfect test scores, hundreds of hours of volunteering. It was my escape route, my ticket out. I never got to use it. The night before I was supposed to leave for orientation, Madison came to my room. She was crying, her mascara running down her perfect face. Emma, I need your help, she sobbed. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. She was pregnant, 18 years old, pregnant by a boyfriend our parents hated and terrified to tell them. Please, she begged, just defer for a year. Stay home and help me. I can't do this alone. I should have said no. In retrospect, knowing what I know now, I should have walked away. But I was 19 and stupid and still, somehow, desperately hoping that if I was good enough, kind enough, selfless enough, my family would finally love me. So I deferred. I told Columbia I'd start the following year. I stayed home and watched as Madison's pregnancy vanished, not because she'd lost the baby, but because she'd never been pregnant at all. It had been a lie. A test, Madison admitted later, laughing. I wanted to see if you'd actually give up your precious scholarship for me. And you did. You're such a doormat, Emma. By the time I tried to undefer, Columbia had given my spot to someone else. My scholarship was gone. And my father? He told me it was my own fault for being impulsive and not thinking things through. I spent the next 9 years of my first life working minimum wage jobs, living in that childhood bedroom, slowly suffocating under the weight of my family's contempt. They made me pay rent. They made me cook and clean for them. They borrowed money they never repaid. And Madison? Madison went to UCLA on our parents' dime, got a degree she never used, and came home to live rent-free while planning her dream wedding. A wedding I was expected to finance. Emma, you'll be my maid of honor, won't you? She asked 6 months before I died. And I know you've been saving up. Maybe you could chip in for the venue? Dad's been having some financial troubles. Dad's financial troubles were my college fund, which he'd borrowed to invest in Patricia's sister's pyramid scheme. The money was gone. My future was gone. And they wanted me to pay for Madison's fairy tale. I'd said yes, of course. What else could I do? The night before Madison's engagement party, I'd worked a double shift at the diner. I was exhausted, my feet aching, my uniform smelling like grease. I came home to find boxes in the hallway. "Oh, Emma," Patricia said brightly, "we're redecorating your room again. Madison and Tyler are moving in after the wedding, and they need the space. We've set up the guest room for you." The guest room was barely large enough for a twin bed. No closet, no privacy. The door didn't lock. It was next to the laundry room, so it was constantly damp and smelled like detergent. "You're giving Madison my bedroom?" I asked. "It was never really your bedroom," my father said. "This is my house. I decide who sleeps where." Something inside me broke that night. Not dramatically, there was no shouting, no throwing things. It was a quiet breaking, the kind where you realize that nothing you do will ever be enough. That the people who are supposed to love you simply don't and never will. I went to the guest room. I didn't cry, I just lay there, staring at the water-stained ceiling, feeling my heart slow down. Looking back now, with medical knowledge I didn't have then, I know what happened. Undiagnosed heart condition, exacerbated by stress and exhaustion. I'd had symptoms for months: chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, but I'd ignored them. There was no money for doctors, and my family certainly wasn't going to help. I died alone in that guest room while my family celebrated downstairs. Madison's engagement party, champagne and laughter and music. No one came to check on me. No one noticed I was gone until the next morning when Patricia came to complain about the noise from my alarm clock. They found me cold and stiff, my phone in my hand, 3 unsent text messages begging someone to help me. And then I woke up. I was 8 years old again, standing in my mother's hospital room. She was pale and thin, the cancer eating her alive, and she was holding my hand. "Emma," she whispered, "promise me you'll be strong. Promise me you won't let them break you." In my first life, I'd promised. I'd failed. This time, I understood what she meant. This time, I had knowledge. I remembered every moment of the next 20 years. Every betrayal, every lie, every casual cruelty. I knew exactly who my father would become. I knew what Patricia and Madison were capable of, and I had time to prepare. The first thing I did was start documenting everything. I kept a journal, hidden and locked, every instance of favoritism, every time they gave Madison something that should have been mine, every nasty comment, every broken promise. I didn't know exactly how I'd use it, but I knew I'd need evidence. The second thing I did was become invisible. Not literally, of course, but I stopped trying to win their approval. I stopped competing with Madison. I let them think I was exactly what they wanted me to be: quiet, obedient, forgettable. And while they ignored me, I planned. I remembered that Columbia, scholarship. I remembered my test scores, my grades, every teacher who'd believed in me. So I worked twice as hard this time, but I kept it secret. I took practice tests late at night. I volunteered, but for causes I cared about, not ones designed to impress my father. I built a life they knew nothing about. I also remembered something else. My mother had come from money. Old money, the kind the family didn't like to talk about. She'd been estranged from her parents when she'd married my father. They hadn't approved of him, thought he was a gold digger. They'd been right, of course. My maternal grandparents. In my first life, I'd never known them, but I knew they existed. And I knew my mother's maiden name, Catherine Ashford. One Google search. That's all it took. Ashford Industries. Billions in real estate and tech investments. And my grandmother, Eleanor Ashford, still alive and, according to every society page I could find, deeply philanthropic and deeply reclusive. I'd written her a letter when I was 14. Not begging for money or rescue, I was smarter than that. I'd written to tell her about my mother, about the things I remembered, the songs she sang, the stories she told, the way she'd loved gardens and old movies and Chinese food. I thought you might like to know, I'd written, that she was happy, at least for a while. That she talked about you sometimes, when Dad wasn't around. That she missed you. I hadn't expected a response. I got one 3 weeks later. Eleanor Ashford flew out to meet me in person. She took me to lunch at a restaurant 2 towns over where no one from my family would see us. She was 75 years old, sharp-eyed and elegant, and she looked at me like I was a ghost. "You look just like her," she said, touching my face. "Just like my Catherine." We talked for hours. I told her everything, not about the rebirth, obviously, but about my life now, about Patricia and Madison, about my father's neglect. I showed her my journal, years of documented abuse. She'd wept. Actually wept. "I should have fought harder for you," she said. "After Catherine died, I tried to get custody. But your father's lawyers. And I thought perhaps he'd love you at least. Perhaps he'd be a better man for her daughter than he'd been for her." "He's not," I said simply. "No," she agreed. "He's not." That lunch changed everything. Eleanor didn't swoop in to rescue me. I'd asked her not to. I wanted to finish high school, wanted to execute my plan. But she set up a trust fund in my name, one my father couldn't touch. She hired lawyers to ensure that the remnants of my mother's estate, which my father had been slowly embezzling, would be protected for me, and she made me a promise. When I was ready to leave, I'd have somewhere to go. More than that, she gave me something I'd never had, unconditional love. We talked on the phone every week. She came to my school events, sitting in the back where my family wouldn't see her. She believed in me. She was my secret weapon. I applied to Columbia again. This time, I was ready for Madison's trick. Sure enough, 2 weeks before orientation, she came to my room crying. Same story, same performance. Pregnant, scared, needed me to stay. "Of course I'll help," I said, hugging her. "But Madison, you should see a doctor. Make sure everything's okay with the baby." Her eyes flickered. Panic just for a second. "I already did," she lied. Great. Can I see the paperwork? I want to know the due date so I can help you plan." She couldn't produce paperwork that didn't exist. The lie fell apart within 24 hours. And when my father tried to convince me to defer anyway, "Your sister needs support, Emma, even if she made a mistake about the pregnancy," I had Eleanor's lawyers send a letter reminding him that my educational decisions were my own. I went to Columbia. I never looked back. Well, that's not entirely true. I looked back enough to keep tabs on them, to watch from a distance as their lives slowly imploded. Because here's what I knew, what I remembered from my first life. My father was a terrible businessman. He made bad investments. He fell for scams. In my first life, he'd bankrupted himself paying for Madison's wedding and lifestyle, then expected me to support them all. This time, I wasn't there to be his safety net. I watched it happen in real time. The pyramid scheme. The bad stock tips. The reverse mortgage on the house. Without my income to supplement theirs, without my savings to raid, they spiraled. Meanwhile, I thrived. Columbia was everything I'd dreamed. I double majored in business and computer science. I interned at Eleanor's company every summer, learning the real estate business from the ground up. I graduated summa cum laude, and then I moved to Seattle and took over the Northwest division of Ashford Industries. At 24 years old, I was a millionaire. At 26, I'd made my first billion-dollar deal. By 28, the age I died in my first life, I was one of the youngest CEOs in the industry. I'd built my own empire, and I'd done it without them. They didn't know, of course. How could they? I'd changed my name legally when I turned 18, taken my mother's maiden name. Emma Ashford, not Emma Sutton. I'd blocked them on social media. I'd made sure that anyone searching for me would hit a dead end. To my father, I was Emma Sutton, the daughter who'd abandoned her family to go to college and never come home. Selfish, ungrateful, he badmouthed me to anyone who'd listen. He had no idea that Emma Ashford was the reason his last 3 business deals had fallen through, that I'd quietly bought the debts on his house, that I'd been systematically dismantling his life the same way he dismantled mine. I wasn't cruel about it. I didn't have to be. I just stopped protecting him from the consequences of his own actions. Every phone call I ignored. Every email I deleted, I thought about that night I'd died. The way they'd partied downstairs while I lay dying. The way they'd given Madison my bedroom like I was already gone. Now I was gone. Truly, completely gone. And they were finally noticing. The messages kept coming. My father, trying to sound authoritative. Emma, this is ridiculous. Your sister needs you. Stop being petty and come home. Patricia, alternating between guilt-tripping and rage. After everything we did for you, we raised you, fed you, clothed you. This is how you repay us? Madison, always Madison. Please, Emma, I know we had our differences, but I'm begging you. My wedding is in 3 weeks and everything is falling apart. The venue flooded, the caterer canceled. Tyler's parents are threatening to pull their funding. I need help. I need you. I deleted them all, but then my assistant buzzed me. Ms. Ashford, there's a Tyler Morrison here to see you. He says it's urgent and personal. Tyler? Madison's fiancé. In my first life, I'd barely known him. He'd been a vague presence at family gatherings, polite but distant. I'd died before their wedding, so I'd never seen how that turned out. Curiosity got the better of me. Send him in. He looked rough. Designer suit rumpled, hair unkempt, dark circles under his eyes. He stood in the doorway of my office, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the modern art, the obvious wealth, and his face went pale. Emma? Tyler, this is unexpected. You're Emma Ashford. It wasn't a question. The Emma Ashford, owner of Ashford Industries. Guilty. He sat down without being invited, which took courage or desperation. Maybe both. Does Madison know? That I'm successful, that I have money, that I've been living my best life while they all thought I was probably waiting tables somewhere? I smiled. No, they have no idea. Jesus. He ran his hand through his hair and thought, look, I know this is completely insane, but I need your help. Madison needs your help. I've gotten that impression from the 100 or so messages they've sent me. The wedding venue flooded. Some pipe burst and destroyed everything. We've lost our deposit and we can't find another venue on this short notice. Madison is, he paused. She's not handling it well. I'm sure she's devastated, I said, my tone neutral. She's been calling everyone she knows, begging for help. Someone finally told her that you lived in Seattle now and that you worked in real estate. She thought maybe you could pull some strings. He looked at me directly. She doesn't know who you really are, does she? No. Are you going to tell her? Why would I? He leaned forward, but because you're her sister. Because families help each other. Because families help each other? I laughed, and it wasn't a kind sound. Tell me, Tyler, do you know how I spent my 19th birthday in my first... I caught myself. Do you know how I spent my 19th birthday? He shook his head. Working a double shift at a diner, then coming home to cook dinner for everyone because Patricia had decided to go out with friends. Madison borrowed $200 from me that day, money I'd saved for textbooks, and never paid it back. My father forgot it was my birthday entirely. I got a text from him at 11 p.m. that said, "Happy birthday, I guess. Don't make a big deal out of it." Tyler winced. Do you know what they did with my childhood bedroom? Madison mentioned they redecorated. They gave it to her, threw out all of my mother's things that were irreplaceable, and gave Madison the room. kicked me into a guest room that was falling apart. And they did it while I was at work, so I couldn't even say goodbye to any of it. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. Because Madison doesn't talk about how they treated me. She talks about how I abandoned them, how I was selfish for going to college, how I refused to help family. I stood up, walked to the window. Let me ask you something, Tyler. Why are you here instead of her? He was quiet for a long moment. Because she's scared of you. Scared of me? She said you always resented her, that you were jealous of her, that you blame her for your parents' divorce. He stopped. Wait, but your mother died. There wasn't a divorce. Exactly. She's been lying about me for so long she can't keep her own stories straight. I turned to face him. My mother died when I was 8. My father remarried Patricia 6 months later. I was grieving and neglected and basically erased from my own family. Madison got everything: love, attention, money, support. And the one time I tried to leave to build something for myself, they tried to trap me there with lies and manipulation. The pregnancy scare, he said quietly. You know about that. Madison told me she tested you once. To see if you really cared about her. She thought it was funny. He looked sick. I didn't think it was funny. I studied him more carefully. There was something decent in his face, something genuinely uncomfortable with what he was learning. Why are you marrying her? I asked. I love her, or at least I love who I thought she was. He sighed. My parents have been telling me I'm making a mistake. They think she's spoiled and manipulative. I defended her, but then the wedding planning started and I saw... He trailed off. You saw who she really is. Yeah. So why come here? Why help her? Because I'm an idiot who keeps hoping she'll become the person I want her to be. He laughed bitterly. And because if I cancel this wedding 3 weeks out, my family will never let me hear the end of it. It's easier to just go through with it. I almost felt sorry for him, almost. I can't help you, I said. Can't or won't? Both. He stood to leave, then paused. Can I give you some advice? From someone who's learning this lesson the hard way. Sure. Don't let your anger consume you. I get why you're doing this. Believe me, I get it. But at some point you have to decide. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? I am happy, I said. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you've built an empire and you're still checking your phone every time your family calls. You've won, Emma. You've beaten them in every way that matters. So why are you still fighting? He left before I could answer. I stood there for a long time, looking out at the Seattle skyline, wondering if he had a point. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message from Madison. I know you're reading these. I know you're ignoring me on purpose. You always were a spiteful bitch. And just like that, any sympathy I'd felt evaporated. Tyler was wrong. I wasn't still fighting. I was finishing what they started. I made a phone call to my grandmother. Ellie, I said. She insisted I call her that. Do you still have those connections with the plaza in New York? Of course, darling. Why? I need a favor, a big one. 20 minutes later, it was arranged. The plaza had a cancellation. Pure luck, or perhaps pure Eleanor Ashford calling in decades of favors. And they had a slot available in exactly 3 weeks. I didn't call Madison. I didn't call my father. I called Tyler. I can get you a venue, I said when he answered. The plaza in New York, 3 weeks from tomorrow. It'll cost you, though. How much? I named a figure. It was steep, but not impossible, especially for someone from Tyler's family. Old money, the kind that didn't flinch at 6-figure wedding venues. Done, he said immediately. Thank you, Emma, really, thank you. Don't thank me yet. There are conditions. What conditions? First, Madison cannot know that I arranged this. As far as she's concerned, you pulled strings through your family connections. Got it? Got it. Second, I'm coming to the wedding. Silence. Then, that's... Madison won't like that. I don't care what Madison likes. I'm coming, and I'm bringing a +1. We'll be in the back, out of the way, but I'm going to be there. Why? Because I want to see it. I want to see her get her happy ending, the one she denied me. I want to see my father play proud parent. I want to watch them all pretend to be a perfect family. I paused, and I want them to wonder just for a moment what my life might be like now. You're going to tell them who you are. Maybe, maybe not. I haven't decided yet. This feels like a bad idea. Probably, do we have a deal or not? Another long pause, then, deal. I'll handle Madison. You just don't burn the place down, okay? I'm not making any promises. The next 3 weeks were a masterclass in karma. Without my intervention, Madison's wedding would have been a disaster. But with the plaza secured and Tyler lying smoothly about how he'd made it happen, everything clicked into place, and the pun. Caterer came back. The florist agreed to work with the new venue. Madison's meltdown subsided into mere hysteria. My father, of course, couldn't afford his portion of the wedding costs. In my first life, he'd raided my college fund. This time, that money was long gone, spent on failed investments and Patricia's shopping habits. Tyler's parents had to cover the difference. I knew this because Tyler kept me updated. We'd been texting sporadically, and I got the impression he was using me as a therapist. Or maybe a reality check. She threw a tantrum because the napkins were the wrong shade of ivory, he texted one night. There are 47 shades of ivory, apparently. I counted. It's not too late to run, I replied. Don't tempt me. Meanwhile, I prepared for the wedding like I was preparing for battle. I had my hair done professionally. I bought a dress that cost more than my father's car, deep emerald green, elegant and unmistakably expensive. I had Eleanor's jeweler create custom pieces for me, real diamonds and emeralds that caught the light like promises. My +1 was Jonathan Chen, a fellow CEO I'd been casually dating. Handsome, brilliant, and worth about $300 million in his own right. We weren't serious, but he'd agreed to come when I explained that I needed someone to make my family's heads explode. I live for this kind of drama, he'd said, grinning. Count me in. The day before the wedding, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Emma? Patricia's voice, syrupy sweet. Emma, darling, I heard you might be coming to the wedding. How had she heard? Tyler must have let something slip to Madison. I might be, I said carefully. Well, we'd love to see you. It's been so long. And I know Madison would be thrilled. She's been so stressed, and having her sister there would mean the world to her. Sister? She'd never called us sisters before. It had always been Madison and your stepsister, or the girls, or just Madison. I'll think about it, I said. And Emma, I know things were difficult when you were younger, but we're family. This is a chance for a fresh start. I almost laughed. A fresh start. As if the past 20 years, or 40 years, counting my first life, could be erased with a fresh start. Sure, Patricia, a fresh start. Wonderful, we'll see you at the plaza. Oh, and Emma, try to dress nicely. It's a formal affair. She hung up before I could respond. I looked at Jonathan, who'd been listening on speaker. Did she just tell me to dress nicely? She did. I'm assuming she doesn't know you own half of Manhattan. Not yet. But she will. The plaza was breathtaking. Madison had excellent taste when someone else was paying for it. The ballroom was decorated in whites and golds with flowers everywhere, crystal chandeliers casting prismatic light across the room. I arrived exactly on time, not early enough to mingle, not late enough to make an entrance. Jonathan and I slipped into seats near the back, and I kept my head down, my hair styled differently than I'd worn it as a teenager. I watched them arrive, Patricia in a mother of the bride dress that definitely cost too much, playing the gracious hostess. My father, looking older and grayer than I remembered, his suit slightly too tight. And Madison, holding court near the front, radiant in her wedding dress. They hadn't seen me yet. The ceremony was beautiful and utterly soulless. Madison and Tyler exchanged vows they'd probably found on Pinterest. The officiant spoke about love and partnership and forever. Tyler's face was carefully neutral, and I wondered if he was already regretting this. At the reception, Jonathan and I stayed at our table. We drank champagne. We made small talk with the other guests at our table, Tyler's cousins, friendly and chatty. Nobody questioned who we were. And then, inevitably, Madison spotted me. I saw the exact moment it happened. She was making rounds, thanking people for coming, and her eyes landed on me. Confusion first. She almost didn't recognize me. Then shock, then fury. She made a beeline for our table, Tyler hurrying behind her. "Emma?" She said my name like an accusation. "What are you doing here?" I stood gracefully. "Madison, congratulations on your wedding. You look beautiful." Up close, I could see that she did recognize me now, but something was off. She was looking at my dress, my jewelry, the obvious expense of everything I was wearing. Who invited you?" "I did," Tyler said quickly. "She's your sister, Madison. I thought you'd want her here." Madison's eyes narrowed. "We need to talk, in private." "Actually, I'd prefer to stay here. Jonathan, this is my stepsister, Madison." "Madison, this is Jonathan Chen." Jonathan stood, offering his hand. "Congratulations. Beautiful ceremony." Madison ignored him. "You need to leave." "I'm sorry." "You heard me. Leave. You don't belong here." Several guests were starting to stare. Patricia and my father had noticed the commotion and were heading our way. "Madison, let's not make a scene," Tyler said, his hand on her arm. She shook him off. "No, I want her gone. She abandoned this family. She doesn't get to waltz back in now and pretend everything is fine." "I'm not pretending anything," I said calmly. "Tyler invited me. I came to support him on his wedding day." "Support him? You don't even know him." "Emma?" My father's voice, shocked. "Is that really you?" I turned to face him. He looked older up close, more worn down. Patricia was beside him, her eyes calculating, already trying to figure out the angle. "Hello, Dad, Patricia." "You came," he said, and for a moment something almost like hope flickered across his face. "I didn't think, after all this time—" "Tyler invited me," I said again. "I'm just here for the wedding." "Wearing what?" Madison demanded. "Is that dress designer? Did you steal someone's credit card? Are those real diamonds?" The naked greed in her voice was almost funny. "They're real," I confirmed. "How? You're a waitress." "I was never a waitress. That's what you assumed." Patricia stepped forward, her eyes sharp. "Emma, darling, you look so different. So successful. What have you been doing these past years?" Here it was, the moment I'd been building toward, the moment I could tell them exactly who I'd become. But as I looked at their faces, Madison's anger, Patricia's calculation, my father's confusion, I realized Tyler had been right about one thing. They weren't worth it. Not the reveal, not the dramatic confrontation, not the satisfaction of watching them realize what they'd lost. They were small people living small lives, and I'd already won. "I've been living my life," I said simply. "I went to Columbia, got my degree, started a career, built something for myself." "Built what?" Madison sneered. "What could you possibly have built?" "Emma is the CEO of Ashford Industries," Jonathan said smoothly. "Perhaps you've heard of it. We just closed a deal for the Meridian Towers downtown." The silence was deafening. "Ashford?" Patricia whispered. "As in Ashford Industries? The Ashford real estate empire?" "The same." "But you can't be—" Madison was staring at my jewelry now, doing the math, her face going pale. "Those diamonds. That dress. You're Emma Sutton. I was Emma Sutton. I'm Emma Ashford now. I took my mother's maiden name when I turned 18. My father made a choking sound. Ashford. You mean Catherine's family? The family you told me wanted nothing to do with me? The family you said had cut us off? I smiled. You lied. My grandmother has been in my life since I was 14. She paid for my education. She gave me opportunities. She loved me. You've been in contact with them all this time? Patricia's voice was shrill. They have billions, Emma. You've had access to billions and you never told us? Why would I? So you could try to take it from me the way you took everything else. We're your family. You gave Madison my childhood bedroom, I said, and my voice was ice cold. You threw away my mother's things. You tried to trick me into giving up my scholarship. You treated me like an unpaid servant and a personal bank account. You forgot my birthdays. You forgot I existed. So no, Patricia, you're not my family. You're the people I escaped from. Madison was crying now, mascara running. How dare you? How dare you come to my wedding and what? Tell the truth? You wanted me here, Madison. Tyler invited me, but let's be honest, you've been trying to reach me for weeks. You wanted something from me. Money, connections, help with your disaster of a wedding planning. Well, congratulations. You got it. The plaza? That was me. I arranged it. Tyler's family couldn't get you in here on 3 weeks' notice, but I could. One phone call. Tyler winced. Madison's head whipped toward him. You knew? You knew who she was? I figured it out when I went to her office, he admitted. And you didn't tell me? Because she asked me not to, and because she was helping us when she had absolutely no reason to. Helping us? She's trying to ruin my wedding. I'm not trying to ruin anything, I said. I'm just existing. I'm sorry that my success makes you uncomfortable, but that's not my problem. My father finally found his voice. Emma, please. I know I made mistakes. I know I wasn't the father I should have been. But we can fix this. We're still family. We can start over. No, I said simply. Wait. We can't. Some things can't be fixed, Dad. Some things are too broken. But your grandmother's money? And there it was. Not I love you, not I'm sorry, just money. Is mine, I finished. And it will never, ever be yours. I made sure of that legally years ago. I picked up my clutch, Jonathan standing with me. Congratulations again, Madison. I hope you and Tyler are very happy together. As we walked away, I heard Madison shrieking behind us, heard Patricia trying to calm her down, heard my father calling my name. I didn't look back. Outside the plaza, Jonathan offered me his arm. That was incredible. You were incredible. Was I? You didn't gloat. You didn't yell. You just told them the truth and walked away. That took real strength. I don't feel strong. I paused, trying to find the word. Empty. I thought confronting them would feel better than this. Maybe it's not about feeling better. Maybe it's about being free. We walked in silence for a while, the New York night air cool on my face. My phone buzzed. Tyler. I'm sorry, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have asked you to come. I typed back quickly. Don't apologize, I needed this. Good luck with your marriage, you're going to need it. His response was immediate. I know, thanks for the venue and for the reality check. I think I finally see her clearly. Better late than never. 6 months later, I heard through the grapevine, Tyler's cousin, who'd been at our table at the wedding was now a friend, that Madison and Tyler were getting divorced. Apparently, the marriage had imploded within 3 months. Madison had expected Tyler's family money to become her money. She'd expected a life of leisure and luxury shopping. Instead, Tyler had insisted on a prenup, and when Madison's spending got out of control, he'd cut her off. The divorce was ugly. She got nothing except her personal belongings. My father had been forced to sell the house that had been my mother's, the house that should have been mine. Turns out he'd mortgaged it 3 times over. The new owners, interestingly enough, were a subsidiary of Ashford Industries. I'd bought my childhood home without him ever knowing. I hadn't decided what to do with it yet. Part of me wanted to rent it out, to make it a home for a family who'd actually appreciate it. Part of me wanted to tear it down and build something new. Mostly, I just liked knowing that it was mine now, that they couldn't take anything else from me because there was nothing left to take. Patricia had tried to contact me once, a rambling email about how we should let bygones be bygones and family is forever. I'd blocked her email address without responding. Madison sent occasional Instagram DMs that I never read, though I could see the preview texts. I'm sorry. We should talk. I made mistakes. Please help me. I left them all on read. My father tried calling on my birthday. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message. Hi, Emma. I know you probably won't answer this. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I'm proud of you, of what you've built. And I'm sorry for everything. I love you. I should have said that more. It was 20 years too late. 2 lifetimes too late. I saved the voicemail, but I didn't call back. I spent Thanksgiving with Eleanor. She was 83 now, still sharp as a tack, still running her empire from her Park Avenue penthouse. Do you have any regrets? She asked me over dinner. About how things ended with them? Sometimes, I admitted. I wonder if I should have tried harder to have a relationship with my father. If maybe, somewhere under all the narcissism and neglect, there was a person who actually loved me. And then I remember how I died in my first life, alone, forgotten, and I remember that I gave them 19 years, 28 years if you count from birth, and they never once chose me. So, no, I don't regret it. I regret that it had to be this way, but I don't regret walking away. Good. Eleanor squeezed my hand. Your mother would be proud of you. I'm proud of you. I know, that's enough. And it was. 5 years after the wedding, I'm 33 years old. I own 15 properties across 3 states. I've just been featured in Forbes as one of the top female CEOs under 40. I have friends who actually care about me, a grandmother who adores me, and a life I built from nothing. Well, not nothing. I built it from pain and death and the knowledge of what I'd lost. I built it from determination and strategy and the unwavering belief that I deserved better. I still think about them sometimes. Wonder what they're doing. Wonder if Madison ever figured out how to be a decent person. Wonder if my father ever truly understood what he'd lost. But I don't wonder long, because here's the thing about revenge. It's not about making them suffer. It's not about gloating or rubbing their faces in your success. It's about proving to yourself that you're worth more than they ever made you feel. They gave my sister my childhood bedroom. They gave her my college fund. They gave her every opportunity and advantage while giving me scraps. But I gave myself something they could never give me and could never take away, a future, a real one where I'm not dying alone in a guest room, waiting for people who will never come. I gave myself freedom. And that's the best revenge of all. My office phone rings. It's my assistant. Ms. Ashford, there's someone here to see you, says she's your sister. I freeze. Madison? No, she says her name is Amy. Your half-sister. She's about 17. Half-sister? I didn't know I had a half-sister. Send her in. A teenage girl walks into my office, nervous and small in an oversized hoodie. She has dark hair like mine, dark eyes like mine. She looks like I did at that age, underfed, scared, trying to be brave. Emma, she whispers. I'm Amy. Our dad is my dad too. He and my mom split up last year and he told me I had an older sister. I've been trying to find you for months. How did you find me? Google. Then I called every Ashford Industries office until someone would talk to me. She swallows hard. I know this is weird. I know you don't know me, but I didn't know where else to go. What's wrong? Dad's getting remarried. Again. And his new wife, she has a daughter my age, and they're already talking about giving her my bedroom. And her voice breaks. I've read about you online. I know what they did to you, and I'm scared it's happening to me too. I see myself in her, scared and alone, trapped in a house where nobody values her, desperately searching for an escape. In my first life, there was no one to save me, but Amy doesn't have to live that life. I stand up, walk around my desk, and crouch down so I'm at her eye level. Amy, I say gently, you came to the right place. Tell me everything, and then we're going to fix this. Her eyes fill with tears. Really? Really? I'm your sister, and I've got you now. Because that's the thing about surviving. Once you've clawed your way out of hell, you have two choices. You can close the door behind you, or you can reach back and pull someone else through. I choose to reach back. I choose to be the person I needed when I was her age. I choose, every single day, to be better than they ever were. And in the end, that's the greatest victory of all.